Welcome to the Beard Speaks Podcast. Hey, all right, guys, what's going on? It's Pat here with the Beard Speaks Podcast. That's right. Hey, how's it going, everybody? All right, I'm happy to be back. I got a killer episode for you guys today. We're going to sit down with a good friend of mine, Fred Bonanno, and we're going to speak about music, man. We're just talking about music, and that's one of my favorite things. So, before we get started with the interview, where can you hear the Beard Speaks Podcast? I'm glad you asked. You can check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We're on Amazon Music, Podcast Index. We can check us out on iHeartRadio, Overcast, Podcast Addict, Castro, Castbox, Podchaser. We're also on Pocket Cast, Listen Notes, Player FM, Good Pods, and True Fans. Well, we're everywhere. Check us out at www.thebeardspeakspodcast.com. All our links to our socials are on there, man. We're on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Check out our YouTube channel. Just look for the Beard Speaks Podcast. We're there. The podcast is streaming there also. But if you want to check us out on conventional podcast apps, we're all over. All right. So with that out of the way, I am just blessed again. The show is streaming all over the world. Thank you guys. If you listen to the show regularly, I give a shout out to a bunch of cities that are checking in and countries. I mean, we're in every country. I'm not going to sit here and read off all the countries, but I do like to shout out to a couple of the cities. So, man, thank you, San Antonio, Texas, for checking in. Ashburn, Virginia, Des Moines, Iowa. We've got, who else we got here? Columbus, Ohio, Fort Thomas, Kentucky, Austin, Texas. We've got Dallas, Texas checking in, Jacksonville, Florida. Who else we got on this list? Elk Grove Village, Illinois, obviously Chicago, Illinois, Crystal Lake, Illinois, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Las Vegas, Nevada. We've got Cicero, Illinois, Denver, Colorado, Carlton, Texas, Memphis, Tennessee, Los Angeles, California. We've got Waterloo, Iowa. My buddies in Waterloo. Man, I was just down there not too long ago at a really killer convention. We're going to have one of my buddies who ran that whole thing on the show soon, man, and talk about that. Very, very good stuff happening in Waterloo, Iowa. Hinsdale, Illinois. We've got Naperville, Illinois. We've got Cleveland, Missouri. What's happening? Freeport, Illinois. Naples, Florida. We've got Rome, Italy. Thank you. Thank you guys in Rome for checking in the show, my home country there. Union City, New Jersey. Gatlin, Tennessee. We've got, who else we got? New York. What's happening in New York? Orlando, Florida, another beautiful city. McHenry, Illinois. We got Seoul, Korea checking in, man. What's going on, Korea? We got Prague checking in. We got Garland, Texas. Lexington, Kentucky. Man, again, the list just keeps going, but I'd like to kind of give a shout out and thank everybody for listening to the show. And if you haven't heard your city on there, sorry, but I know you're listening, and I appreciate it. I appreciate the emails. Again, just keep sending them in. The Beard Speaks Podcast at gmail.com. All right, who do I have on the show today? As I said, good friend of mine now. His name is Fred Bonanno. He is a co-host at CreatiVity Talkin, another killer show with some good friends of mine over there, and he's also Metal Temple Magazine. What a great guy. Now, we're talking about music and new music specifically. There's a lot of new bands out there, or just older bands coming out with new music, and people are just not checking it out, don't know where to find the music. And I get it. We're listening to our traditional rock and metal and whatever. We're just listening to our music, and there's a lot of bands coming up that are inspired, by all these great bands that we grew up listening to, and they're coming out with some fantastic music, but you just don't, it's not out there. It's very hard for independent artists to get their music out there, on social media and, whatever. And it's just tough to do. And, you get out there and you just try to play some shows. They don't have money to tour all over the country to get their music in front of people. So Fred, he's got his finger on the pulse of this, and he attends oh man, how many live shows, supporting local acts, supporting national acts that come through town, but also really exposing the new music that's out there, which really we all should really sit down, listen to it, give it a chance. You can find a new album that's your favorite, or a new band that's now your favorite, and that's something that is near and dear to my heart, and I love it. And music just is ever evolving. There's so much of it out there, and it's hard to, you just click on Spotify and you get, half the music on there is not even real. So, I mean, let's face it, right? I mean, you want to find some really good stuff, and Fred and I have a great conversation about this. So without further ado, here's my conversation. All right. Hey, Fred. Welcome to The Beard Speaks. How's it going, man?
I'm doing great, Pat. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Definitely, man. I've been wanting you on the show so we can chit-chat music. My favorite subject.
Talking music. I talk music. Yeah, I can do that in sports all day long. Anything else, forget it. But
right.
Those two subjects I'm good at.
Awesome. So one of the key reasons that we talked about a little earlier, why I wanted you on the show is I'm really, being local here in Chicago and playing all the clubs pretty much my whole life, and being part of the scene. We always, and I'm sure from other musicians I always talk to, local scenes, and it's all the same, right? Things evolve or devolve in some instances, but right now the state of music itself, right? People looking for new music. People keep saying rock is dead or metal is dead and there's nothing new out there. They're not really trying to uncover the new music and where to go to find the music. With so much noise out there in social media, it's like, how do you find these gems? And you seem to be the one that's bringing all that to light. So talk a little bit about how you started into this, and I know your love of music, and what made you say, man, I want to find these, these new bands, or even like older bands that are coming out with new music. Because sometimes I'll tell someone, hey, I just picked up the new Queensryche or, the new Doc, and they're still around. Yeah, where have you been? Right?
Yeah.
So how did you get into doing that? Really wanted to bring that out?
Well, that started a handful of years ago. I mean, I've always loved music. I was a huge into sports my whole life. I mean, ever since I was old enough to walk, I loved sports and played sports, but music was always there for me too. And it probably started when I was around 14 years old. I'm going back a ways ago when I was 14. And I was listening at that time. I was just listening to what was, the flavor of the day back then, which was the Beach Boys and the Crying Shoes, right, and the Ides of March and the Turtles, that kind of stuff that you hear on WLS and WCFL.
Yep.
And then a friend of mine's brother introduced me to Black Sabbath, the debut album. And I was like, my eyes got wide open. I go, holy crap, What is this? And I became a metal fan then, and haven't looked back. I mean, my genre is hard rock and heavy metal. I do like the classic rock, Styx, Journey, Triumph, all that as well. But hard rock and heavy metal is my number one choice. And I always been a concert goer. I always have supported live music. I used to keep a list of all the concerts I'd been to, and even the bars and local clubs we'd go to, and I was well over like 3,000 concerts.
Wow.
And it's still growing. I still go. My wife and I still go to usually 20 shows a year, sometimes more, depending on the shows. And we go to local clubs to support our friends if they're playing, or like this tomorrow I'm going to see a friend of mine's band is playing here in Lisle, so we do that as well.
Nice.
And so when I retired about 4 years ago, I started writing. I got in a writing group, and that writing group led to a couple books that got actually published, which was really cool. But I started writing for a website called Metal Temple, and I was doing album reviews. And now I do concert reviews as well. So I would get a lot of bands come across I was assigned 2 bands a week, and a lot of bands I never heard of. So that got me into a lot of bands I never heard of. Some bands you like, some bands you don't. The problem with writing a review is I hate to write bad reviews, because the way I look at it is if you're talented enough to put an album out, even though if I think your music isn't that good, you're talented enough to get an album out there. And I hate to say this band sucks, because in my opinion, no band sucks. They made it. They got an album. Just like when I watch sports, you can't sit there and look at a pitcher and go, man, he sucks. He doesn't suck. He's a major league pitcher. He's one of, 900 major leaguers. So I don't look at it that way. So I always try to keep my reviews positive and up. So because of and then about a year after I started writing for Metal Temple, I was introduced to a gentleman that you and I both know, Vince, and he had a podcast, and it was dedicated to hard rock and heavy metal. And I started doing the podcast with Vince, and we would do interviews with, we would start doing interviews, and we've had some really incredible guests on the show. And now because of the podcast I do with Vince and the writing for the Metal Temple, I had a lot of promoters reach out to me. Hey, check out this band, check out that band. I'd even have bands, reach out to me and say, hey, would you like to listen to our music? So that opened up a whole new door for me.
Yeah.
And it just got me a list of all these incredible, there's some incredible bands out there that need attention drawn to them, because a lot of them are self-released, and you don't have a record deal. You're out on social media, you're trying to promote your band, and it's not easy.
No. So
if I can do what I can. So I started a TikTok channel, which now I've also put on my YouTube channel. The TikTok channel is at Metalhead Fred. That's what I go by, Metalhead Fred. And I just started doing a segment called Band You Need to Know. And I will be starting here very shortly. There's a station in the area called Rebel Radio. They've been around actually for 30 some years.
Yeah, definitely.
So I got to know Scott, who's the owner. And he's also a drummer in like 10 bands. He's an amazing drummer. Yeah. And we talked about a month ago, and I said, hey, how would you like a segment on your radio station called Band You Need to Know? Like an hour segment once a week, where I can introduce 4, 5, 6 bands to the listening audience that may need the attention. Some of these bands people may have heard of, but a lot of people are like, wow, I never heard that band. Where have you been all my life?
Right.
The old thing. So that's kind of what started it, was just all these. I realized there's so many bands out there that just need and deserve attention.
Definitely.
Again, how do you get it? Back in the days, back in the 60s and 70s, when you had a record deal, the record company would do the promoting for you, and they'd put you on tour with a headliner. Like if you're an unknown band, they'd put you on tour with Aerosmith or Iron Maiden or something, and now all of a sudden you're in front of 25,000 people.
Right.
Well, that doesn't happen nowadays.
No.
So you're playing the venues that seat 400 or 500, and you're hoping those 500 people maybe tell a friend, and the word gets out. Social media, you got to get out there and do social media, and that's tough. And a lot of these guys are working jobs, and they're trying to promote the band and trying to get gigs. So it's tough. So if I can do anything to help some of them get the word out there, I do. And through Metal Temple, I'll review an album. Like a band will come up to me and say, we just released an album. You got a record deal? No. I said, send me the download link. Send me the band information. I'll write a review for you, and I'll get it out on Metal Temple, which is seen in, in the worldwide. So hopefully thousands and thousands of people see that. The same with now the TikTok channel. I'm growing that to get to the point where, your band, for instance, Pat Catalano Project. I didn't know anything about your band.
Right.
And then Vince introduced me to you. I listened to your album, Paper Crowns, and as you know, I reviewed it for Metal Temple and gave it a 10 out of 10 because I was floored how good it was. And that's what I said. Man. Where's this band been?
Yeah.
They're not, on major airwaves, but again, it's tough. There's thousands and thousands of bands out there. How does somebody get noticed?
It's hard. It's hard.
Try to throw. The logistics and then touring.
Touring
money is tough. It's expensive. You probably lose money touring.
You do.
So we always say on the podcast and on my TikTok channel, we say, support live music whenever you can. Buy vinyl, buy CDs, because that's how you guys survive. You don't make squat.
No.
If somebody downloads yours, you have 10,000 downloads and you make what, pennies on the download on that. So,
I look back. I look back at my my distribution, and I'll go into the little tab that says your account, and you get all these downloads, Spotify, iTunes, whatever, and it's like, here's $15. You're like, what? Yeah, it's bad.
I think that the joke I heard was when they said they were just going to discontinue pennies. The joke was, how's Spotify going to pay this artist?
Right.
That's what you guys get paid.
It is. Yeah.
And it's a shame. It's tough. It's an industry like trying to make it as a movie.
It is.
It's tough. You got a million people out there vying for the same role. The same with music. I'll admit, sometimes I'll hear a band that got a record deal, and my first thought is, "Oh, these guys get a record deal."
Yeah.
In my head, I'm thinking they're not that good.
Right.
And there's all these other bands that deserve it, but maybe it's a stroke of luck.
It is.
Maybe somebody heard it and liked it. And I'm sure it's not easy to get a record deal. And then I wonder too, because I've talked to a lot of these bands that have, self-release, and I go about getting a record deal, and a lot of them say, hey, maybe you feel the same way. I don't know. If we get a record deal now, we're being controlled by the record company.
It is true.
They're telling us, cut that 6-minute song down to 4 minutes. Change this so it's more radio friendly.
Right.
One of the bands out there that we absolutely love is Wings of Steel. And they've been independently releasing all their out. And a lot of their songs are, 6 minutes, 10 minutes long.
Right.
I guarantee a record company would say, that 10-minute song ain't going to fly. Cut that thing down to 4. And it's like, wait, what? How do you cut a 10-minute song down to 4? So
that's what they do. And that's what, sometimes the mind of the producer is too. So, which is kind of what, we went through, in Catalano, my old original band that we were talking about before. So we did the same thing. We were writing songs, and, the producer was like, yeah, that's too long. Or cut that segment out, or cut this out. So it does happen. I mean, whether you're signed or if you get a producer, which is why I started self-producing things, because I'm like,
right.
I get it, and on Paper Crowns, do I have a couple 3 minutes? Sure I do. There are just some rockers straight in your face, but sometimes when you're writing a song and you have a vision, it's like, well, this is the vision I have for the song. This is the story I'm trying to tell. I joke around with my wife because she's really bad at lyrics. Right? She'll be singing. I'm like, babe, that's not the words. She's like, well, I make up my own words. But anyway, so I'll be listening. I'm like, no, I said, every song is a story. But, as a writer, you are, and I know I love writing, and it is. I'm trying to portray a story. That's like when you said, "Hey, was Paper Crowns supposed to be like a documentary type thing, or a rockumentary?" I'm like, hey, it's a story. A lot of the songs, I'm a storyteller, and sometimes I can't shut up when I'm telling the story, so I can't tell you a 3-minute story, but. In the music, that's how it is too, right? You're writing it, you're putting it together, you're arranging it, and it's like whatever the story is, and however long it takes me to get that across. I mean, tell that to Dream Theater, right?
Oh my God!
Yeah,
I love Dream Theater, but sometimes you sit there and go, "Is it over yet?"
I know.
Come on,
right,
dude. At some point, you got to end the song.
Yeah.
But you know what? They make it work. They can do a 12-minute song, and it works. It flows so greatly.
It's just right. Yeah.
And that's what I always wondered about the producer too. I just wonder, if you record a song, Pat, and the producer goes, I like it, but you know what? What if you add piano here to kind of soften it up? And then you're sitting there going, no, dude, I don't want to add a piano, but the producer knows the best. That's how I looked at it when I told you I had originally written a couple books when I first retired, and one of them was short stories. There was 20 writers, and we all wrote a short story. And my short story was about a heavy metal band, and the lead character, which was me, him and his girlfriend broke up, and then he loved her, and then he got a record deal, and he was at a show, and she was there. And then he finds out the bottom line of the story is she wound up committing suicide because she couldn't have him anymore. And then I go into a big scene where he's in a hotel room and she appears, and it was just I thought it was a really cool story, and I wondered, my editor gets back to me and just changes punctuation. But if the editor would have said to me, that's good, but change the heavy metal band to a top 40 band and have it, no, that's not my story. That's not the job of the editor, just like the job of the producer. I guess the job of producer is to say, you want to sell records or not?
Right.
So do you listen to them at some point? I always wondered One question I always wondered in music was Journey. I absolutely loved Journey.
Me too.
I must have seen them every time they came to Chicago. Yeah. This was before Steve Perry. And I was at the show at Soldier Field when they introduced Steve Perry, and he comes out in a red jumpsuit and starts singing, loving, touching, squeezing. And I'm like, oh my God, they just ruined Journey. Yeah. I learned to absolutely love Steve Perry's vocals. He's an amazing vocalist.
Yep.
I just wondered, did somebody get a hold of Journey and say, you guys are good, but you missing something?
Yeah.
And they brought in Steve Perry, and does the band go, cool, because now we're going to sell 10 times more albums, or
right.
We want to stay true to what we believe. So that always makes me wonder, did the band agree with that? Or was it just a, hey, you want to sell albums? You want to sell at the arenas, or you want to play the Aragon Ballroom your whole life?
Right. I mean, and that does happen. I mean, I think, when we were in the studio, now the unfortunate part of how Catalano kind of, I was telling you, there was a lot of, kind of infighting, so to speak. Well, our drummer was our producer. And as we were going in and recording, everything was cool, and when it came time to start mixing and producing everything, it started sounding more like, Nickelback than it was sounding more like Queensryche, Dokken, which is like the vision that Dean and I had when we wrote all the songs, So the majority of the songs were written by the two of us and my brother. And, our bass player was phenomenal at like helping arrange things and things like that. So we all had this vision, and he came into the band later. So we had a drummer when we first started, and he came in later on because we lost that drummer, and he was producing us to begin with. Like he came out, watched us play, was hanging around the band, and he was a drummer. And at one time I'm like, hey, we need a fill-in because this guy left. But when he jumped on, it felt so natural that as a band member, he slid right in, he fit right. But we butted heads as producing. And when we listened to the mix at one point, we're like, this is not what we want. This is not what the sound of the band is, right? Or what we were envisioning. So it does. It happens. You butt head, whatever. And I think that's kind of where things kind of started falling apart because we stepped in and I'm like, okay, I'm producing this now. This is not what we wanted. And, we kind of shifted and did it the way we wanted it. It still didn't come out perfect because we still had to, again, like you were saying earlier, it costs so much money, right? You're in a studio. Every hour, it ticks is another dollar, boom, boom, so you're trying to get things done quick. And it does happen. I mean, one of the funniest stories I ever heard was with Evanescence, Bring Me to Life. That song has that male, a part to sing that comes in during the vocals.
Yeah. He's almost kind of not rapping, but he's kind of talking.
Yeah.
Part. Yeah.
She did not. That was a producer idea. She did not want that in the song. But when you listen to that song now, you can't think of that song without that part.
Oh, exactly. I think that was a perfect ad.
But she hated it. She didn't want that there. So isn't that crazy? So yes, there's a lot to be said. I mean, there's our producers that have changed band. Look at Def Leppard. Look at Mutt Lange. I mean, Mutt Lange has changed trajectory of country music to more rock because, back in the day, country was country music.
Twang.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, it's such a crossover now.
Yeah. Well, he married Shania Twain, and when he produced her first album, and that thing shot up, right?
Yep.
And he came from that rock metal side, and now every country artist started going, hey, we got to chase that sound. So it's kind of how it is. And like what he did with Def Leppard, I mean, he really pushed them, from High and Dry and on through the night to Pyromania. It was not totally different, but different enough that album exploded, right?
Yeah, their debut album, I think it was On Through the Night.
Yeah.
It's a great album, but it's just straightforward rock and roll. Hysteria, right. Pyromania, he definitely brought him to the next level. He got him. They just sound like a different band.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's something to be said about really good producers out there, but musicians always butt head with producers. It is what it is.
Well, you're looking at 4 members, all with different visions of how a song should be. I mean, I assume it's really hard to be on the same page. You know, and you say, okay, we want to sound like Queensryche, but we don't want to be Queensryche.
Right.
We want people to think of Queensryche. But then the drummer might say, well, hey, what if we? And then I assume that's got to be tough to be. I've never been in a band, so I assume that could really cause some issues.
It kind of does. It happens like that in every band, you know. And you know, you fight over covers and stuff like that. I mean, but that's the way. That's just kind of the nature of the beast. But it's hard to get everybody on the same page. But that's why what I've learned after the years and years of doing this is like I just write and whatever. I never say, hey, I'm going to write something that sounds like this. I just write music, and however it comes out, you know. And I did that with Paper Crowns, especially because I think I wrote that album almost in a daze because it was all emotional, right? And when I finally had all of the songs done, and I'm looking at it going, how do I put some of these songs on the album? I felt like, well, they don't really fit, you know, like Paper Crowns and, you know, the Empire, New Empire, Silence. I mean, all these songs are so heavy. And then I've got some arena rock kind of, you know, type of songs in there. And I'm like, how do you know, and then my wife said something that just let my light go off as an outside listener. She's like, well, it's all your music. What's the point? What's the difference? I'm like, yeah, you know what? You're right. It's all about how you arrange them on the album, and it's how you know how I did it. And now, like I said, it stands, you know, because you know it is just what you write. So as a writer, I don't think you should chase a certain sound or a certain genre. I think you just write, and whatever comes out, comes out.
Yeah, and I ask when we have musicians on our podcast, I ask all the time, and I probably get the same standard answer, is when you're writing a song, at what point do you go, okay, that's it, it's done, it's ready? Or when do you end the tweaking and go, what if I did? At some point you got to say, that's good, it's album ready, and right at some point you just say it's, and I'm sure after you record a song and you listen to it, you might go, oh, why didn't I do this?
Yep.
Why didn't I do that?
Yeah.
I did that when I wrote when I write the stories or even my reviews.
Right.
I'll read them off and I go, oh, I should have said this, or why didn't I add this one little? But at some point you have to hit send.
You do,
and let it go, because you'll never record a song, you'll never write a book if you are constantly tweaking it.
Right. And I did that in my first, you know, when I recorded Only a Dream, which was my very, very, very first attempt at recording at home and that type of thing. It took me forever because I was never finished with it. And at some point I had to just stop. But there's 2 answers to that. So if you're recording, you know, on your own at home and you're not spending any money, you'll just keep, like I did with Paper Crowns. I went crazy on that album. That's why the production is so good. I layered and did so much stuff. But like when you're in the studio and you're paying by the hour, you're done when you're out of money, I think, right? Because like I go back and listen to Into the Darkness with Catalano, and I'm like, like you just said, we should have done that. Oh, we never added harmony vocals to this, and that was, you know, because the more you listen to your own stuff, the more you start picking it apart. That's why I sometimes just stop and I don't listen to. That's I think why musicians, like when someone says, hey, how did you play that? I'm like, I don't remember, because you're just not listening to it anymore.
Right.
And then sometimes you don't want the old stuff to influence what you're writing now. So when you're in a writing mode, I don't go back and listen to any of my old stuff. I literally forget, you know.
No, I get that. And then I guess you say, okay, we should have added this here. You know what? When you do it live, then you go, let's add harmony vocals.
Correct.
Or let's throw this guitar over here. Then you can do it a little bit. When you're live, you can do anything you want when you're live.
Yeah, I think I like that when you go out and see bands live.
I love when they change it
They
up.
change it up.
If I want to hear it like on the record, I'll put the record on and stay at home.
Correct.
I love when they tweak it up and change some things and whatever, throw me this or that.
Yeah. And Lynch does that a lot. He never plays the same solo live. Never.
I said that. I read that about him, and I've seen Lynch. We just saw him not that long ago, and I guess I don't realize it because you're not going to remember every solo.
Yeah,
yeah, that's and that's got to keep it fresh for him too.
It's got to. Yeah, you're playing the same thing
night after night.
Yeah.
So let's change the set list up. Let's change the way I play this song. Let's add a cover song in here for the hell of it, just to do it. I mean, I would assume playing the same. Jeff Tate from Queensryche is on the road like 240 days out of the year. And he's in the process of doing Mindcrime in its entirety, which is my all-time absolute favorite album.
Same.
But I just wonder, at some point, does it get a little tiring for Jeff to do the same set every night after night after night? Or because it's kind of a theatrical presentation, is it more fun for him just to go up there and say, it doesn't matter, maybe I'll change it up a little bit here? But
yeah. That's tough. I mean, because it's such an iconic album to really change anything. I mean, but I think...
Well, the thing is, and everybody knows the words, so you say to it. And if he changes it different, you say to yourself, did he mess up or did I mess up?
Right. I think as from the artist perspective, the only thing I can say is that you have enough... what's the word I'm really looking for? Like enough respect for your fans that you want to bring them the best performance every time you get up there and as close as possible to what they know. So I'm guessing, I mean, next time you go see Jeff, ask him. All right.
Yeah. Well, and I bring that up because I'm taking drum lessons right now.
Yeah.
And my drum teacher told me, he said, you got to keep the beat. That's obviously the most important thing. But he goes, when you do the fills, he said, you own the fills. You can have some fun. He goes, you can do whatever you want with fills. But if it's an iconic song like we're doing Back in Black by AC/DC, you have to do the fill like Phil Rudd did it because everybody knows that. Ba-da, ba-da, ba-da. You can't change that because it's going to change the whole structure of the song. He goes, but there are other songs that you can do that whatever you want on a fill. But he goes, some songs are so iconic, you have to keep it. You probably know that playing in a band all these years. You can't just change, the beginning to Smoke on the Water because that's iconic. That has to be how it is.
Right. Well, it's funny because I don't know if you're familiar, and I'm Drummeo or something like that. There's a YouTube channel. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
I don't know why my wife and I were up late last night watching because I got so I'm not a drummer, but I just love music, right? So I love all instruments, and I wish I could play drums, but I can beat on the drum and it doesn't make sense, but I can. But I know, like when
it is fun though. It is fun. And bang away.
Yeah, but when I'm writing, I can hear the drum beat in my head, or I can when I'm working with a drummer, I always say hey, like you just said, you have the freedom to do whatever, but this is kind of like the idea I'm going for. But I don't speak drum, so this is what I'm thinking, and you give me some different and then that's how I kind of come up with that. But
so let me turn this interview around on you for a second.
Oh shit!
When you write a song, when you write a song, do you usually write lyrics first and then the melody, or does it depend?
It really does depend. Sometimes I'll just have a riff, and when I sit down with a riff, I'll say, okay, this is cool. I'm going to put it here and, I'll come back to it because I don't always have lyrics for it. So I'll have about, I don't know, 10, 11 just like riffs just sitting there recorded. And when I go, okay, now time to work on something, let me listen to some of these riffs because I'll just be sitting around and just jamming while I'm watching TV. And then something just comes out of me and I'm like, oh shit, that was cool. And not to lie, sometimes I go, how did I just do that? And then it's never the same, but I grab my phone real quick, I record it, and that's what I do. But a lot of stuff that when I work on something specific. Like if I just do lyrics a lot, but same thing. I'll put down stories, ideas, and then I go back and say, okay, I'm vomiting at the mouth here. I've got a lot of stuff here. How do I break this down? And I like to work with like metaphors, it's a big thing for me. That's like with the lyrics to, which one would be the best example? Probably the Throne of Glass, Absent King, like the metaphors, like she sees his face in the glass instead of in the mirror. You know what I mean? Those types of things. Like I like to use the metaphors. And the Absent King is like the father that's been alienated. But it makes it more theatrical because again, Queensryche is one of my favorite bands. I don't want to be Queensryche. I know you can hear it in my music, but again, it's just how I write. It's never going to go away. Right. But when I have songs like that and I break it down, then I go back to the guitar and I'll come up with the melody, or I'll go to my singer and say, okay, hey, here are the lyrics. This is the melody I'm thinking about. You're the singer. I can't sing worth a shit. So you tell me where I'm at. If I got the right idea, and then the melody will come from there. Or if I have the riff, then I'll come up and say, okay, cool. Here's the riff, come up with a melody with the lyrics I have. And then there's songs like, shit. I mean, I think when I wrote Midnight on Overdrive, that was just a riff. And I literally just had a riff, and I'm like, what am I going to do with this? I dig the riff. It's just straightforward rock. And I'm like, okay, this is just a song about staying up all night when we were kids and, playing the clubs and rocking and, being stupid. That's it. That's all the song's about. It's nothing fancy. I'm not going to win a freaking award for it, but it's all it was. You know what I mean? I threw out like a cheesy solo because it was just the idea of the song. So a lot of times I'll take the idea of the song and sometimes that song just becomes its own, I don't even know the right word, like its own identity, right? So, right. The sound, I'll tweak the guitar sound or I'll use a different guitar because I'm like, well, this song deserves to have this type of sound. And I got that idea. There's an Italian artist, his name is Filippo Navani. He goes by the stage name Neck, N-E-K. And I had to cough there, sorry. And he when you listen to his music, it's almost like The Police, Sting, kind of little maybe edge of Whitesnake. It's a really weird combo. But also like adult contemporary. But you'll listen to one of his albums and it's the same thing. Different songs. You're like, why is this on this album? But that's where I got the idea of like, hey man, whatever it is, just write music and write for the song and play the right instrument for the song. So if this song really would tailor better to having like a Fender Strat tone rather than pulling out my Ibanez and shredding on it, then that's what you do. It's not about, I've gotten to the point in my life where it's not about, hey, look at what I can do. Look at how awesome this song is. Don't worry about how cool the guitar solo is or what this is going to be or the singer. It's because if you don't have a good song, it doesn't matter, right? And for me, the focus on any band is the singer because the singer is telling the story, right? You can be phenomenal musicians, and if your singer is not up to par, it's just not going to work.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That'll destroy a band. Yeah. And there are some bands out there that do not have good singers. Yeah. And yet it still works. Right. Most my friend of ours, she always says, how come guys can sound like crap and women have to sound perfect? Yeah. I don't know. It just works. You can get away with a Dave Mustaine or a Lemmy. And, yeah. And yeah. But you're right. The lead singer can obviously some of the greatest bands out there have some of the best singers. You look at Triumph, right? You look at another one of my. You look at Queensryche with Jeff Tate. I mean, those singers are amazing. Firehouse. Yeah, these guys just had phenomenal vocals. Don Dokken in his day, was a phenomenal singer. Yeah. Well, you say when you're writing a song, though, not every song is going to be a mind thinker like a Stairway to Heaven.
Sure.
You know,
right.
Some songs are just plain and simple rock and roll, and
Right.
a good time, put the top down and go cruising, you know, kind of song. And sometimes you don't want to overthink it because it's just a rock and roll song, dude.
Right.
That's all it is.
And it's sometimes, well, not sometimes, all the time. It's your mindset or where you're at when you're writing the song. You know, I mean, obviously, a lot of the stuff I wrote for Paper Crowns, I was, family court. I was, that there was a lot of stuff going on in my life, up and down, and it was kind of a journey. And it's probably why that album surpassed Redemption. The first solo project album I put out. That album I put out got 15 tunes, and again, same thing. A little bit all over the place. Some guitar masturbation all over the place, and just ripping out some guitar, instrumental tunes, but still cool, But I wrote a lot of, believe it or not, faith-based. A lot of the songs are faith-based because I was coming out of, playing at church and things like that. But it was more like, how can I make God heavy? let's rock him out. You know what I mean? So I had a lot of really cool messaging in there, but that's where my mind space was. You know what I mean?
Well,
it was there.
And I was close to, in my review of that for Metal Temple, I was close to calling you a thinking man's metal band, and I didn't want to put that label on you because sometimes people read that and I go, oh, geez, I don't want to think. I just want to listen to rock and roll and rock out. You had some incredibly deep lyrics, and of course, the song for your daughter Ari's
Ari's song,
is if you don't well up a little bit when you hear that song, you don't have a heart. And I think there's one line, I don't remember if it's in the silence or whatever, and I probably won't do it justice, but you had in there something about if a man's not telling the truth, is it a lie? I forgot what the exact line was. It was a killer line, and I love that line because it meant a lot. The album rocks, but there was a lot of deep lyrics in there, and I tool around with writing lyrics here and there. I'm not very good at it, but I like tool around with it. So I listen to lyrics maybe more than a lot of other people. And when you hear some really tight, deep lyrics, it makes the band even that much better, because you realize they're not just going out there going, it's talking about sex, drugs, and rock and roll. It's just, so I give you credit. It was a great album lyrically as well as musically.
The tough part is really putting together, the idea for the lyrics and things like that. But yeah, definitely that song was inspired, and not that I want to start like a whole argument over politics with people, but it's really about free speech more than anything. But I mean, I looked at it as, there's so much going on right now in the world, and Charlie Kirk got shot and all these things are happening. And it's like, what is going on that people can't just speak their mind or have a real debate? And that's really what that song is about. It's just about the death of free speech. That's why, I put the silence is our speech, and then I put freedom in parentheses, kind of a nod, to Charlie Kirk. Again, whether people like him or don't like him, it's neither here or there. It's the whole point of everybody has the right to be able to speak, and that's why, like, the song opens. It says the statues crumble in the square, dragged down by the ropes of those who claim the moral high. So people who are like claiming the moral high ground were tearing down statues. Remember when all that was going on, So it's like, but how do I tell that in a story? It's hard, So you're looking at, that's where the metaphors kind of come in. And sometimes I'll crack open a thesaurus and go, okay, man, I got to have a better word than like, bro, what? let me get some better words in here, and really, and I got a lot of that from like Jeff Tate. I mean, in Queensryche, the way they write lyrics, it's man, it's just so amazing, and it makes you think. I always called Queensryche the thinking man's band type thing too, because they really, they really make you think, and thought provoking, and and that makes it, I don't know. It just makes it better. I mean, but yeah, I think the line you were talking about. I pulled up my lyrics here because sometimes I can't remember things either. I think the line you were talking about is they burn the scroll, they break the quill, they paralyze the tongue. We have to sing the song before the final bell is rung, or I think it was before the solo. Oh yeah, it's
something about if he's telling a lie just because you don't believe it doesn't mean it's a lie.
Yeah, if you cut out a man's tongue, you do not prove him a liar. You only tell the world that you fear what he might say. That was a definite nod to free speech right there. But yeah, man. I mean,
and it's great that you write those songs. And first of all, everybody will interpret the lyrics the way they want
always,
to. I think the Beatles put out a book years ago, really interesting book if you're a Beatles, actually a music fan, and they tell every song they've written and what it means. And it's cool because you sit there and go, that's what that song is? I have no idea. Yeah. Just like I never realized that Come Together, I think Lennon said he wrote it just because he goes, let's write him a song that nobody will be able to figure out what it's all about. Let's just have some fun with it. And of course, everyone goes, well, when he says 1 and 1 is 3, he's got to be good looking because he's so hard to see. That's talking about Paul McCartney being dead. He goes, no, we just wrote lyrics to mess with everybody.
Yeah.
But and that's the thing. It's one thing to put it in a song like you did, and it's great because music and sports both have always been a deterrent from real life.
Yeah.
You watch sports to forget about life, forget about your problems. You listen to music to forget about life. It's a fantasy. And that's why when a lot of these musicians now, and the athletes too, are all getting on their high horse talking about this, like Springsteen and even Nugent, nobody wants to hear that from you guys. We want to hear you play Wang Dang Sweet Wu Tang.
Right.
And that's what everybody wants to hear. They don't want to hear you preaching about how much you hate this political party or that. But it's a release from, we have enough. Everyone's got enough on their plate. Nobody knows what anybody's got on their plate, what's everyone going on in there, what's behind doors. So you can't judge anybody. And I try not to. I for a long time, I'd look at somebody and go, look at that person. I go, no, you don't know what that person's going through. So I'm trying really to just be that kind of guy. But it's like when I watch sports, I don't want to see somebody taking a knee. I don't want to hear somebody putting something on their uniform. I want to watch the game for 2.5 hours and forget. About the bombings in here. When I listen to music, I want to just slip back and bring me back to that time where you're hanging out with your buddies and you're in the park and you're having a beer and you're shooting the crap about everything. That's what music does. It gets you out of everyday life because as soon as you leave the arena, bam, you're back into
into reality. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's great that when you write songs like you do that really, get you thinking and say something, but you're not sitting there preaching to everyone. This is how I feel. This is how you have to feel. And if you don't like the way I feel, like these artists now are saying, if you're still support, songs,
I know.
Don't listen to my music. Seriously?
I know.
Seriously? You're going to alienate that many fans because of that? So
it's stupid. I think that's
ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Yeah.
Nobody ever cared about who voted for who or what was going on. It was like politics was politics, and we always try to stay away from it.
Well,
and
you're sitting talking about how all the terrible things in the world, and yet you're doing this in your $10 million mansion by a gated community with security all around you, and you're talking about this, and I was like, no, don't give me that shit. You don't know what
I know.
That's it, and that was one reason why I used to be a Catholic, and I left the Catholic Church because I didn't think it was right that the Catholic religion didn't allow priests to marry.
Right.
You've got to let priests marry so they know what the real world is all about.
Right.
They got to have kids. They got to have the problems we all face with kids, and so I just never followed that belief, and I left the Catholic Church after my mom passed away.
Yeah.
Got into a really nice Bible church because I'm trying to learn a little bit more about the Bible.
Yeah.
Which I always thought somebody should turn that into a concept album.
Yeah. Can you imagine? I mean,
that would be almost be impossible to do, though.
I think so.
There's your homework assignment, Pat.
Turn
the Bible into a concept album.
The only thing I came close to doing that is on Redemption. That album has got some cool songs that are kind of out of the Bible. Like We Rise is all about the exile of Egypt with the Jews leaving Egypt and going through the promised land and, that kind of thing. There's a few of them on there. I think there's a few on there that are kind of like the Book of Armageddon. Obviously, it's about the end of the world and kind of straight out of there, Yeah. So I've got a couple on there, but it's, I mean, but look, Creeping Death by Metallica. That's straight out of the Bible, man.
Yeah, that's true. I did read that there are some references here, and I know Iron Maiden's had a few too.
Iron Maiden too, man. Yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff from Revelations, and so
I'm actually surprised Stryper never did that.
I am too.
Obviously, and I mean, he writes a lot of really uplifting and great songs. He's a good dude. Michael Sweet.
Oh yeah.
But maybe he just realized too. Maybe that's a really difficult task.
It would. Yeah, it would be very, very difficult.
Yeah. So there's a song here or there about it, and that's it.
That's kind of what I did too. Just kind of here and there, and then just about faith itself. Because same as you, I kind of turned away from the Catholic thing and went more towards Bible church, and like I said, I played in a worship team for about 6 years, playing worship music and things like that, and I thought it was pretty cool to just kind of stretch my guitar playing because I think it was Tommy Lee one time, he's like, man, you just can't be like heavy metal all the time, you gotta stretch, and George Lynch said it too one time, he's like, if I would have known better, I would have said, get out there and play different styles of music, and it's right. Cool.
And again, when we interview some of these, heavy metal musicians on the podcast, we kind of say, so what do you listen to in your downtime?
Sure.
And nobody says heavy metal. They all say jazz or blues or something. And like I said, maybe just to get away from that so you're not overwhelmed by metal. And then when you go to write your songs, you're kind of coming in with a fresh perspective.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Same thing. Yeah. I mean, I love Neck, that Italian singer. I mean, I listen to a lot of his stuff. There's an Italian singer named Laura Pausini. She's freaking amazing. So but it's not metal. It's not, but I can hear, it's funny because like hearing their songs, sometimes I'm like, oh, I would have done this here, or I could make that song heavy. But you're right. It takes you away kind of out of your space so that when you're writing, you're not like, I did it one time. I came up with a riff and I was like, oh shit, this is Rat. You know what I mean? I was like, I can't use that, because you listen to this all the time. It's ingrained. And then when you start playing guitar and just kind of riffing, something will come. I mean, everything has been played, you know what I mean? And it's like that, like I was going to say about that YouTube channel where they bring the drummers in. And they're like, here's a song with no drums. It's a popular song, whatever. And they're like, you go ahead and play and come up with something. And they always get pretty close, because it's like you were saying, it's like the beat has got to be, the same, and you can kind of feel that rhythm. But the fills are always different, Sometimes they kind of like, oh, wow, that was really close what the original drummer did. But yeah, we were kind of stuck watching that late last night. It was fun, You got Wolfgang Van Halen was doing one, and Portnoy, it was just so cool to see them. And I think they had Mark Portnoy, they had him stuck doing some tune by, what's her name? Oh, Jesus, why is her name escaping now? Just the only biggest popular Taylor Swift. That's a popular singer right now.
Taylor Swift song.
I had to laugh. I know, it's hilarious. But with all this being said, like, it's so hard right now to get new music and find out what's going on out there. So you got your finger more on the pulse than I do. Like, I'm on the musician side of it because I'm recording and releasing stuff and hoping a prayer, and I just throw it out there. Of course I want people to hear it. I want people to listen to it, and but the way they have us locked down, especially like Facebook, Spotify, forget it, right? I mean, it's like, you barely get people to get on there and listen to your stuff, and you can't, unless you have a full subscription, you can't even listen to a full album. It's just kind of like, oh, you liked this song? Well, I'm going to give you this song now. And, it kind of just jumbles it around. And one of the bad things I hear about Spotify is there's hundreds of thousands of just AI music out there now.
Oh, that's
which is driving me crazy. Like, well, what's going on?
And I get that across my feed a lot.
Yeah.
Check out this band, and I'll listen to it and go, that is awesome. And then I'll do some research on it, try to Google the band, can find nothing about them. And it's all the computer-generated video.
Right.
So you go, it's got to be AI.
It's got to be.
It turns out the record company that was sending me all these, I was talking to Vince, my co-host, about this. I go, this is an AI-generated label. So there's not, this is all AI generated.
Even the labels?
It's scary because now you wonder, every time you hear a song, you got to go, is this AI or is this a real band? And it's scary to know there's that much AI generated music out of it. I mean, I did that for my, I haven't put it out there yet for my TikTok channel. I went on AI, and I don't like to do this, but I said, you know what? I'm Metalhead Fred. Write me a quick metal song with Metalhead Fred in there. And boom, within 3 minutes, I got this professionally sounding, theme song for my TikTok channel about Metalhead Fred. And it's amazing. It's like, it can't be that easy, but it is.
I can't even believe it. I mean, but how do they even how do you do emotion with AI? I don't, I think it cuts out that human perspective of it.
Oh, it does. And I hate to see that, the people start falling for it. I mean, yeah, if you want to just put it on your iPad or whatever, or your phone and listen to it when you're working out. But that's where you've got to help support live music. You've got to, when you hear these bands, you got to buy their vinyl, buy their CDs, buy their band.
Sure.
You got to support them because they're going to get ousted to the point where
it is, man. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't.
Spotify going to go, we don't have to pay anybody to do AI stuff. I mean, they're not paying anybody now, but now that many less people to pay, no copyright infringements, nothing. That's a scary part.
It's scary, and like as an artist, it's you kind of think like, well, who like I've come to the conclusion when I started hearing about all this stuff going on. I'm like, well, I'm not going to make money at this. You know what I mean? Unfortunately. But of course, yes, I want people to hear the music. So, you're fighting that. You're fighting the algorithms on Facebook. Like you go on your page, and if you've got 3,000 or 4,000 followers and you post something, Facebook will say, "Oh, okay, well, a handful will see this. Maybe like 10 people, maybe. But if you want the rest of your fans that follow your page, you have to pay." It's like, come on, man. And I get it. It's marketing, but you're killing me, man. If I have 4,000 people following my page, when I make a post, all those motherfuckers should be able to see my post. Okay? Exactly. And if I want to engage further, then I'll pay. Yes, that I agree with. But, no, because I'm in marketing to begin with. I mean, that's my livelihood, so I understand it. And I have clients that they'll spend $5,000-$10,000 marketing on LinkedIn and Facebook and things like that to gain new customers and new, you know what I mean, to get their face in front of new people, but not the people you already have. You should have organic, marketing should just be organic. And the people that are following you, when you make a post or you promote something, those people that took the time to follow you should get that right away. It's crazy. But so
it's all about, as you say, that comes down just to the dollar.
Yeah, it does.
Look at what the NFL's doing. Used to be you turn on either CBS or NBC or ABC or whatever and watch a football game on Sunday. Now you got like 7 different avenues to watch on. They're on Paramount, they're on Hulu, they're on NFL channel, they're on Peacock. So if an NFL fan wants to watch football, he's going to go, do I just watch the handful of games they let me, or do I got to spend another $9 a month for Paramount, another $9 for HBO? And the Cubs are doing it now with the Marquee Network.
They are,
Chicago.
right.
I just signed up for that. And it's $9 a month, $19 a month. I go, well, I'll do that. It's cheaper than going to the bar to watch a game because I'm going to drop $70 at the bar. But then I go to turn on the game and they're on Apple TV or they're on this. And I can't get that. And I'm not going to do a subscription. But that's what it comes down to. They got so many channels out there. That's why I always tell people, they go, because I grew up, born in 1957. So when I was a kid, we had 4 TV channels, no internet, no computers.
Yep.
life was so much simpler. Yeah, you can't halt progress. It's a great thing, and it's an amazing thing. But my God, was it simple back then, right? You're out playing with your friends all day.
I know.
And you did your homework. You ate what mom put in front of you at dinner, and you had 4 channels. And if Dad was watching Bonanza or Lawrence Welk,
that's what you watched. Yeah,
so,
freaking Lawrence Welk. I remember that, man. Yep.
Yeah. Now it's, my daughter's downstairs watching something on Netflix, and I'm upstairs watching something on whatever. But, that's progress, and you can't fault it. It's great, but it's also taken away a lot. I mean, you've probably seen it, too. When you go out to a restaurant and you see a family of 5, and the kids are all on their little computers or phones. Like, I know. Put them down. I know. Have a conversation, talk. I hate when I see that.
I hate it.
I try to not use my phone ever when I'm out, because I'm out for a reason.
Right. Yeah, I hate it. I mean, it's technology. I mean, things have moved so fast. And that's why it's like with AI, I don't want to bash it because it's good for certain things. Like, again, I used it for mastering and it was fantastic. I use it for band photos because my guys are all over the place. I can't get everybody together for a photo. So I get all their headshots and photos, and I put it into AI and create a band photo. I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, so it does save you money. It does.
Rudy Sarzo told us that he uses it when he's rehearsing.
Yeah.
Has him punch in whatever song he's rehearsing. He goes, now I don't have to worry about getting the band together. But he goes, I just use it for rehearsal.
Right.
And that's great.
So
it's a tool. It's a great tool for that.
It's a tool, exactly. So if you can use it for certain things, and of course I'm seeing it all over Facebook. Everybody's using AI now for photos and touching up on band photos. And I'm like, okay, I don't feel bad. I mean, everyone's doing it. It is cost effective. I hate to say, I love photography. That's one of my things I do on the side just for fun. So I see the whole you're taking away from photographers. But if I had the opportunity where I had everybody in the same room, in the same country, yes, I'd have professional photos done and things like that. But when you don't have that opportunity, and we kind of going back to when is your material done? Well, it all comes down to money. It all comes down to time, right? And sometimes it's like, hey, this has just got to get out, so I have to do it this way. So that's that. But with all that being said, just to kind of bring everything full circle, showing people new bands, figuring out where to go to find all this stuff. That's where you come in, and that's what I love what you're doing, with kind of putting a spotlight on bands people never heard of before. So kind of give us a quick hey, this is where you go. I mean, we'll plug obviously all your stuff too, and I'm in the show notes of the show. I'm going to have all your links so people can find you. And but for you to tell someone hey man, if you really want to find some new music and find some new bands out there, what's the best way to go about it?
Yeah, well, I'm going to start my series at my TikTok channel, which is at Metalhead Fred, and that I'm going to start a series of bands you need to know. I'm just going to do one band a day, so I don't overload anybody. And it's also will then be on the YouTube channel if you don't have TikTok, and the YouTube channel is In the Front Row with Metalhead Fred, and I'll do the same thing there. I'm going to just repost the TikTok post on that one, so a lot of people don't have TikTok.
Right.
Hopefully in a couple weeks, I'll be on Rebel Radio with the segment Bands You Need to Know. And I don't know what day that's going to be. Yeah. When I do, I'll throw that out there and I'll let you know too, Pat. But Rebel Radio is AM 1300 in the Chicago area. They're working on getting more power. So a lot of times you can't get it in so well, but you can stream it.
Yeah, you can stream it.
The internet. You just go to Rebel Radio and you can listen to it on the computer. They're on in the mornings. I think they start at 5 in the morning, and they play nothing but hard rock and heavy metal. Scott, who is the owner, who for the last 32 years is on from 2 to 7, and they'll play a lot of thrash, speed metal, punk, hard rock, heavy metal, a little bit of everything. So there's always something to listen to, and hopefully my segment will be starting here real soon on that. I do write for Metal Temple, so if you go to www.metal-temple.com, you'll see my reviews. And I'll throw some of the bands out there where they got albums coming out. So those are probably the 4 ways you can get a hold of it right now. I might do a Facebook page if I can get that set up and running too, maybe the same thing,
Sure.
or at least alert people know where to catch them on, because there is a ton of new young bands out there, because these bands, unfortunately, all the bands we grew up with, they're either retiring or they're losing members, or there's only one member left. And how long are they going to be touring? How long is Maiden going to be touring for?
I know.
How long is Metallica going to, Dokken is pretty much done. Kiss is done. Winger is coming back for one more tour. A lot of these bands, unfortunately, like Triumph came back, but that was a one and done thing. They came back after 30 years. So all these bands we grew up with are Alice is still out there. Alice Cooper's still out there. But for how long is Alice going to do it for? And unfortunately, some bands just aren't around anymore. So there's some great new bands out there, and they need to, to get recognized. And a lot of them are independently released. So they count on like you and me to get out there and spread the word about them. Yeah.
And it's amazing. Like I said, there are, just through you, I've been finding a lot of cool bands and listening to some new stuff. And it's like, wow, and you're right. Yes, our hearts are with all these old bands that we grew up listening to and that type of thing. But they're, all the people that those bands inspired, we need to look at that. You know what I mean? We need to check them out and support them. And then that comes back full circle to live. When you guys see bands out there promoting and they're playing live or they're in your neighborhood, go see them, because right now the state of live music is kind of, you know what I mean? A lot of original bands just don't get the opportunity to go out there and play. Every time there is a big band that comes through town, there's always a cover band opening for them.
Yeah, pretty much. I remember going to concerts in the 70s and even 80s, and every band, there were two headliners. I saw always Iron Maiden open for Van Halen. Right. I saw Great White open for Ozzy. They were incredible. Now, you're right. Now it's usually a cover band. Yeah. And we don't have the venues like we did then. You remember we had the Thirsty Whale. What else did we have? We had the Thirsty Whale. Chances are Studio One, the Studio One Beginnings, Rock Garden, Toto's, the Broadstop. Now in the area, there's the Arcada Theater in St. Charles, Illinois, and Des Plaines Theater in Des Plaines. Ron Onesti does a great job in bringing bands. I'm going to see Robin Trower there later this year. I'm going to see Wasp. He has some killer bands there. But other than that, you pretty much got to go into the city. Yeah. Or see, sometimes they'll play up, in Milwaukee or something like that. Sure. So it's not like it used to be where, man, every weekend there was a killer show at these shows. So, and that's what these bands are facing. How do they get gigs? How do they get noticed? Right. It's tough. And I know, and one thing, I have a lot of friends in cover bands, and I don't knock it. I would do it for fun too. You know what I mean? Just to get out there and jam. I love playing covers. I have a good time. I love 38 Special. I saw them at the Des Plaines Theater. Fantastic show. But it's they're doing their thing, and they're making money, and they're having fun and whatever. But I think a lot of these guys, and they were all in original bands back in the day. So it's like they want to keep playing. Of course, I totally get it. And the only way they can do it is, just by going out there, starting a tribute band or whatnot. And I've seen some pretty killer tribute bands. There's a band. Have you heard of Rat and Roll? I have not. They are fantastic. I just saw them. I just saw them on the South Side at Jamo's Live. Great. The guy sounds like Stephen Pierce. I was like, holy crap. And the band is tight, and they're really good. And there's a Dokken tribute. There's some great bands, that are doing the tribute thing. So I don't knock them at all. But I just think when a national band comes through town, like when Dokken comes in, or like Last in Line, or whoever it is, Stryper, get an original band. Give them the opportunity, like you said, to get out in front of these fans. At the beginning of the day, at the end of the day, you're not even playing in front of a lot of. It's not the full crowd, right? You got probably half of them, and the other half are still getting beer and in the lobby, getting merch. So at least give a local, original band or independent original band the opportunity to open for them, so they could get their new music out there. Yeah, and Ron will do that at his venues and
Yeah.
displays in St. Charles. He'll have some local bands, and I've discovered some great. I'm actually wearing a T-shirt of the one band called Brand of Jewels.
Yeah.
That he had. They were from New York, and they were fantastic.
Yeah.
So Ron will get some, local bands out there, and there are some, like you were talking about the tribute bands. There's another one out there called Jump. I don't know if you ever seen Jump. They're a Van Halen tribute band, and I tell you, this lead singer is David Lee Roth.
Yeah,
I know.
that's cool.
He jumps off the riser like, and spread eagle like David did. And the guitar player, I mean, it's not easy to say, wow, Eddie'd be up there smiling, because Eddie's like my all-time favorite guitar.
Yeah.
But yeah, there are some great cover bands, and they want to get noticed as well too, because the more gigs they get.
Right. And a lot of them are doing original music on the side and just not playing out. I've noticed that too, and which is probably what I would do too if I was in a cover band, because I would, it's like, hey.
Scott from Rebel Radio I think he's in like 7 bands.
I think so.
A Judas Priest tribute band. He's in a Ozzy Dio tribute band called Heaven and Hell. He's in Judas Rising.
Right.
But then he's in like an original band called The Suffering, which is, I call it the Cookie Monster Rock.
Yeah.
And then he's in another band. I forget what they're called. He's around.
He's busy.
He's in a couple originals and a couple cover bands. Yep. And, he keeps himself really busy.
Which is great.
People still want to go out and see.
Yeah.
You want to go out, and like you said, Dokken or Van Halen. You still want to go out and see these cover bands if they're good.
Right.
Good.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't knock them. I mean, my wife and I went to Jamos a couple of weeks ago, and it was a full night of, it was Cinderella, Rat, Dokken. I think there was a Van Halen band there, but it wasn't Jump. A Metallica trip. So I mean, it's cool. You have a great time. You're sitting there. You get some dinner and you watch some awesome bands, and you take kind of like a back in time type thing. So it's cool. But yeah, Scott's bands are cool too.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Yeah. My wife is in garage band. So she plays every 3 months. They do a show.
Oh,
and she's a singer, and they usually do 5 songs, because there's usually like 5 bands. So you just get like 5 songs, and she'll come home and go, "Oh, we're doing this song and this song and this song." I go, "I don't know those songs." I go, "You gotta play songs people know, and can tap their foot to, and maybe sing along to. You can't play these deep cuts where people are going, 'Who is that?' You gotta play Kiss, Rock and Roll All Night."
I know.
Or you gotta play stuff that people can tap their foot to. Otherwise, they're going to be bored and go, "All right, when's the next band coming on?" But she goes, "Well, the drummer said, let's play this song because it's got a great drum beat." Yeah, but nobody knows this
Nobody
song.
knows it, yeah.
Play some.
In the old days, you can get away with that, because like when we used to play shows, when we picked covers, we usually did deep cuts. Like if we did a Dokken dude, we did "Don't Close Your Eyes." And
great tune.
People knew it because back then, that was just the era. You know what I mean? I think the only song we did, like when we did Queensryche, we did "Take Hold of the Flame," and we also did Jet City Woman. But we did Wicker Man by Maiden, so we had a couple pretty cool covers that we did that were not, as popular, but still, at the end of the day, now, it's a little bit different, and people, you're right, people want to go out, they want to hear stuff they know, they want to have a good time, unless you're actually going strictly to go see an original band, it's kind of the way it goes.
But, a friend of ours is in a Taylor Swift tribute band called Are You Ready For It? The Taylor Swift Experience.
I've heard of that. Yep.
They play. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
They play all over America. They're in New York and California, and they play in front of 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 people. It's mostly kids.
Yeah.
But again, everybody loves Taylor Swift. The kids love it.
Yeah.
And the parents probably go, "Good, I'll take her to this where it's only $20.
Right.
$2,000.
Yeah.
But again, it's something that's popular, and you run it until it runs dry.
Yeah.
I mean, the Beatles still have tribute bands.
Oh, yeah, everywhere.
And another friend, it's in American English. I'm sure you've seen that.
Yes, a million times. Yep.
Fantastic.
And
people love to go see the Beatles. Every song's a hit, and you can sing along to it, and it. And that's what people want to hear.
That's what it is. All right, man. I think we could talk for another 2 hours, but we got to cut it here. And we're going to have Fred back on the show again. This has been fantastic. There's so much more we could talk about, man.
I'd love to.
So much more we could talk about, and we can
talk music
all day.
All day long.
But Fred, you hang on. Don't go nowhere. Everybody else, we will be right back. All right, guys. So there was my conversation with Fred. What an awesome guy. We could have talked for another 2 hours, but we just couldn't go down the road. But I'll have him back on the show again and discuss some more killer music and some, just some more good conversation, man, which is this podcast is all about. So please make sure you go check out CreatiVity Talkin. Fred's on that show, co-hosting with Vince, another good friend of mine that is also exposing new music and just interviewing musicians and really putting a spotlight on what everyone should be checking out, man. So that's really cool. Also, don't forget to check out Metal Temple magazine, man. So it's metal-temple.com, and you can check out that website. And Fred's got a lot of reviews on new music, new albums out there, things you should know. You should go look at that, go check it out. And if you're out there and you're jamming and you're in a band, you're an independent artist, and you're figuring, how do I get my music in front of people, man? I really, I want people to hear it. I want people to really check out, what I've got. And I know as a musician, right, we spend all our time writing and recording and really trying to put everything together. And the key is, like, how do we get it out there, right? And how do we get people to listen to it? That's the key. So this is something that, again, near and dear to my heart. So, hey, send us an email at thebeardspeakspodcast@gmail.com. You want to come on the show, we can talk about your album, your new music, and things like that. Love to get that information out there. Love to have people check out your stuff. And, man, that's really what it's all about. As musicians, we really want to be able to, we put that love into our music, and it's just all that, right? You put it all there, man. And you got the listeners are what matters, and people really are really craving new music. I mean, we all are. I mean, we want to hear, we all love the old music, and our favorites and stuff like that. But even those bands are coming out with new music and getting it out there, and they're even having a tough time, some of them, right? But again, like I said before, there's a lot of new bands or a lot of independent artists that are inspired by our favorite bands and coming up with some great stuff. And you just really can't rely on Spotify and iTunes, or what is it even called, iTunes, whatever, Apple Music. I mean, you can't really rely on that. I mean, unless you know about it, you can go search for it. But how do you find out? That's the key. So really, if you got something to say, send an email, man. Send an email. We'll get your stuff out there. But check out Fred at Metal Temple. Check out CreatiVity Talkin. These guys are really, really helping artists and push that out there. So until next time, guys, God bless. We'll see you soon.